Okay, so like how many times have you already switched between apps just this morning? Seriously, I've totally lost count.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like we're all constantly juggling these calendars and to-do lists and messages like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
exhausting. You know what I mean? But like, what if there was a better way? What if there was like some magic solution out there?
Right.
Well, that's what we're going to dive into today. We're looking at this article called No More App Switching, Your Day Transformed
Oh.
by this guy, you want.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah. Have you read it?
I did, yeah. It's a good one.
Yeah. So he's basically exploring this whole rise of like AI powered all in one apps.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like promising to like totally streamline our workflows and
Right.
just make everything so much easier. So are these apps like the productivity miracle we've all been waiting for?
Right.
That's the big question, right? Like, let's unpack it.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So one thing that Yuhua really nails is this feeling of like spinning plates that so many project managers and leaders like experience every day.
Oh.
It's like, you're trying to keep all these things going at once and it's just,
Yeah, and you never know which one's gonna like fall off
it's
next year.
exactly. It's like a constant game of whack-a-mole with your tasks.
Yeah, for sure.
So you mentioned that Yuhua highlights this specific app called Hero,
Yes.
right? And he's saying that it's like taking on Google Calendar,
Yeah.
you know, kind of like challenging the big dog
Interesting.
because it's got this AI-powered approach to scheduling and collaboration.
Yeah.
So, like, does Hero actually have a chance here? Like, can it really dethrone the king of calendars? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because, there's been so much hype around AI in general, right? Like every company is trying to slap an AI sticker on everything.
Right, right.
But Business Insider actually reported on this trend where businesses are kind of moving past the hype,
Oh, interesting.
and they're actually looking for practical applications of AI, like real ways that it can actually boost efficiency. And I think Hero kind of fits into that category. It's not just some flashy gimmick. It's using natural language processing, which is basically like NLP,
Yeah.
to understand your requests and preferences. It's almost like you're talking to a real human assistant.
Right.
Have you ever used a voice assistant to like schedule appointments or anything?
Oh, yeah, all the time. It's seriously a lifesaver.
Yeah, it's incredible how much time it can save you.
Totally.
Yeah.
So Yuhua lays out these like key benefits of these all-in-one apps.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest ones is this idea of a centralized workflow
Yeah.
where you basically have everything, like all your tasks and schedules and communication all in one place,
Right.
which sounds amazing in theory, but like, does it actually work that seamlessly in practice? What do you think?
Well, I think the key here is integration. These
Mhm.
apps have to be really good at pulling information from all these different sources and
Yeah.
then like putting it all together in this unified dashboard.
Yeah.
So instead of constantly jumping between your calendar and your project management tool and your messaging app and whatever else,
Yeah.
you just see everything in one place.
Right.
And that reduction in context switching is like a huge productivity booster.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So another big thing Yuhua talks about is AI-driven insights.
Mm-hmm.
And he describes apps that can like predict your priorities and even automate tasks.
Right.
So how does that even work? Is it just like some fancy sorting algorithm or is there something more sophisticated going on behind the scenes?
I think a good way to think about it is like having this data-driven personal assistant.
Okay.
Some of these platforms, they use machine learning algorithms to analyze your past behavior and all your project deadlines and stuff.
Interesting.
So let's say, for example, you always work on this one specific project every Tuesday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
The app might pick up on that pattern and then automatically block off that time slot in your calendar.
Wow.
So you can have that focused work time.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
It's like the app is learning your work habits and like anticipating your needs.
exactly.
So Yuhua also emphasizes enhanced collaboration, which includes features like shared calendars, real-time updates, and integrated file sharing.
Mm.
This sounds like a total game changer for team projects.
Mm.
But are there any potential downsides to having like all your communication funneled through a single platform?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like could it lead to information overload or like siloed conversations where people aren't talking to each other as much?
Yeah, I think that's a valid concern. For sure.
Yeah.
I think the key is finding the right balance.
Yeah.
The platforms need to make it super easy to share information and collaborate,
Right.
but they also need to allow for more focused communication within like smaller groups or just one-on-one conversations.
Yeah.
So transparency and clear communication protocols are essential.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like having different channels on a walkie-talkie. So you can choose who you need to talk to at any given moment. So another thing UWatt brings up is this idea of overcoming AI anxiety. Because a lot of people are kind of freaked out about AI. If
Right.
they're worried that it's going to take over their jobs and everything.
Yeah.
So how do these apps address those concerns?
Well, I think the key here is focusing on augmentation, not replacement.
Okay.
So the goal isn't to replace humans with AI, but to use AI to help humans,
Right.
like to automate those tedious, repetitive tasks that we all hate doing
Right.
and free up our brain power for more strategic, creative work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So think of it like this. AI can handle like scheduling your meetings and sending out reminders.
Okay.
And then you can focus on actually preparing for those meetings and coming up with brilliant ideas.
It's like having a tireless administrative assistant that never complains about making copies.
Exactly.
Like that.
Yeah.
So UWatt also really stresses the importance of accessibility matters.
Yes.
He's saying these platforms need to work for everybody. Right. Regardless of their tech skills or the devices they use. So do you think we've reached a point where like cross-platform compatibility is actually a realistic expectation?
I think we're getting closer, for sure.
Yeah.
Things like cloud-based platforms and standardized APIs are making it easier for apps to work seamlessly across different devices.
Okay.
But there's definitely always room for improvement. Developers really need to prioritize accessibility and make sure their platforms are user-friendly for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So UWatt makes this really compelling point in his Why It Works section. He says that these apps aren't just about managing projects.
Right.
They're about empowering people.
I like that.
And he specifically highlights this idea of reducing decision fatigue.
Yes.
So for anyone who's not familiar with that term, can you explain what decision fatigue is and how these apps help combat it?
Sure. So decision fatigue is basically this idea that our ability to make good decisions, like actually good quality decisions, it gets worse and worse as we make more and more choices throughout the day.
Oh, yeah. Like our brains just get tired,
Right.
So by automating routine tasks and providing like intelligent recommendations,
Yeah.
these apps can free up some of that mental bandwidth so we have more energy left for those really important decisions.
That makes sense. So instead of getting bogged down in like the tiny details of scheduling meetings or like prioritizing emails,
Right.
you can focus on that strategic work that really moves the needle for your business.
Exactly.
So UWatt leaves us with this like call to action, right? He's asking, are we ready to simplify our workflow and boost our team's productivity?
I think the potential is definitely there.
Yeah.
But as we're embracing all these new tools, I think it's really important to also think critically about the implications.
Right,
like what happens if we become overly reliant on just a single platform? What about data privacy and security?
Yeah.
These are all questions we need to be thinking about as we're kind of navigating this evolving landscape of work. That's a really great point. It's like with any powerful tool, right? We need to use it responsibly and thoughtfully.
Absolutely.
Well, huge thanks to UWatt for this awesome and thought-provoking piece. We'll definitely link to it in the show notes so you can check it out yourself.
Definitely worth a read.
And until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.
See ya.
Bye.